Alright, in this chapter, we're going to begin to karmify our House 101 combi, but first I've adjusted the mix a bit since the last chapter. So if you want to stay in sync, the mashed kit here, the drums are now at 111, the bass at 127, the transference lead here is at 80, and the scatter synth timbre 4 is at level 105. Now, before we get into this chapter, I want to give you just a bit of context. And if you remember back in chapter 7, we played around with the Karma real-time controls. And to do that, we clicked here on this Karma mode button. And now the 8 sliders and the 8 switches are essentially the Karma real-time controls. And remember, there are 5 layers. There is the master layer, and then there is layer A, B, C, and D. Layers A through D correspond to modules A through D, and each of these layers gets automatically configured as soon as we choose a GE for that module. And these were the layers that we played around with in chapter 7. But this master layer here is unassigned by default. And we can kind of get a sense of that here. Although the best place to see that is if you are looking at the screen of the M3, specifically this Karma RTC page, then you can see that the names of the sliders and the names of the switches appear when you click on the module control button on the M3 to rotate through. But when you're here on the master, you'll see on your M3 that the names are blank, and that's an indication here that there are no assignments yet. So in this chapter, we are going to start the process of assigning the real-time controls for the master layer, and specifically we're going to start up here with switches 1 through 4. But before we jump into these switches here, I just want you to know that there are a bunch of great reference documents available at the Karma Lab wiki that refer to what we're going to be doing here, including assigning the real-time controls to the master layer. To find these, you'll want to go to the Karma Lab wiki and then click on the RTC models tag in the tag cloud in the sidebar. And I suggest you actually start with the document called Understanding the Perf RTP and GE RTP Parameters, and then review the one called RTC Master Layer. And that second one, RTC Master Layer, it actually begins by outlining the guidelines used by the combi developers at Korg and Karma Lab when assigning the master layer controls. And since we're going to be using those guidelines here, it's kind of helpful to know what they are. So those guidelines for the first 4 switches are Module A run, Module B run, Module C run, and Module D run. So what does that mean? Well, that basically means that if we go here into the Karma tab, and then we go into the Perf RTP tab, Performance Real-Time Parameters, what we're doing is we're looking for the parameter called module run, and I happen to know that that is in the mix group here. So we choose mix, and then the parameter here is the run parameter. The minimum value is 0, meaning off. The maximum is 1, meaning on. We can ignore this for right now. These checkboxes are for the Karma modules, which Karma module we want this parameter to affect. So let's choose A, and let's assign this to Karma switch 1. So again, what this line now reads is that Karma switch 1 is going to apply the module run parameter to module A. And if we just follow a very simple pattern, mix run B, Karma switch 2, mix run C, switch 3, mix run D, Karma switch 4. We've got our 4 Karma switches assigned, and now if we hit chord trigger 1, we don't hear anything. Why don't we hear anything? We don't hear anything because the 4 Karma modules are now being controlled by these 4 switches, and you can see here that by default in the master layer they are off, but if we turn them on, we get the modules to turn on one by one. We can turn them off one by one. And this was very similar to what we used to do here with these run checkboxes, but you can see that these are now disabled and they're now grayed out. And that's simply an indication that these parameters, the module run parameters, are now assigned to real-time controls. The main difference now is that since the module runs are assigned to the switches, they can be stored in each of the 8 scenes so that you can have different modules turned on and off in different scenes. So let's go ahead and turn that back on. And this would be a good time to write the combi and save it.